Hey everyone, welcome back to episode number 66 of the Beginner to Master Speedrun. So I'm coming into today rated exactly 2100, and I did suffer a somewhat painful loss in the last episode. Had a very tragic mouse slip, but hopefully I can work towards a higher rating today, and hopefully we'll have a lot of instructive games. So let's hop into the first one. All right, first opponent playing on a something something. Let's play e4. And we have a Caro Kann. I'm going to play the two knights attack. This is one of my favorite weapons against the Caro. And I did make a video about this a few years ago, about all the traps that black can potentially fall into from this position. So d4, it's not the main move, but definitely very playable. Have to move the knight. And very often the knight will reroute to g3. Black going full throttle with the d-pawn. Pawn d3. I could still play knight g3, but taking also makes sense. After queen takes, I play knight g3, defending and attacking. So I'm liking the looks of this so far. Early opening, quick development. Can take over the center with d4. This makes a lot of sense. I'm pausing here because I'm realizing that this move might be a bit more useful. Bishop c4 first. I'm going to start with bishop c4. Just if bishop g4, I have tactics with bishop f7 and knight e5 or g5. I think very likely I'll still end up playing d4. Black can't really play e5. We'll probably see e6. e6 is played. And I want to play d4, but then there's bishop to b4 check. So I'll castle first. We're on move 8. I have 3 minor pieces developed, and I'm castled. Black just developed their first piece that's staying on the board. But black is ready to develop and castle with the next couple moves. So now it's a question, like, can I punish black for the slow development? It probably makes sense to start with d4 and maybe look to play e5 in the near future. Yeah, bishop e7. It might be hard to punish black. I'm probably best off just completing development, like bishop f4, put the rooks in the center, thinking queen e2, and then the rooks will likely to come to d1 and c1. Okay, b5. It's also a question where my bishop wants to go, because d3 might have more influence in helping attack the king side. But there's some argument to keeping it on b3, because when the rook comes in, it won't be as blocked. And it still aligns with the king. Yeah, I'm going to start with bishop to b3. Put the rook on d1. I'm trying to manage my time. The opponent's still moving quicker than me. But yeah, we're still early in the game. So the queen might come to b6. I'm still kind of in the improving phase. Yeah, rook c1, very natural. This is the only half open file for me, only file without a pawn on it. And generally, when it comes to placing rooks, they do like to be aligned with opponent's king or queen. So, that's one reason why I started with rook d1. Now, queen is still a potential target on c8. And d5 might be some idea very soon. Like for example, knight d7, d5, and c-pawn is pinned. Okay, queen e8. So That's a good sign. The queen is moving a few times, trying to escape the danger. Now, I would like to keep improving. I mean, e5 is still a consideration, but it allows knight d5. There's a move knight e5, trying to target the c-pawn. I'm kind of leaning towards knight e5, because if knight d7, then I take. Knight a6 is kind of ugly for black. Just looking at other options too. Imagine black wants to play this next. I guess there is bishop c2 to try and prepare this. And then maybe bishop g5. Wait, let's calculate. Bishop c2, knight d7. Pawn e5, knight d5. Bishop g5, f6. It feels very close to being very good. There's also a4 as a move. Okay, I'm going to start with knight e5. Yeah, it took a bit of time there. There's another idea with this move to play knight d3 and then control c5. And then just try and blockade this backwards pawn. But now it's a question what black wants to do. Black plays knight a6, so keeping this pawn defended. Maybe trying to prepare this. Another benefit to this move is it opened the queen, and I do have knight h5 here to try and remove one of the main defenders on black's king side. And honestly, that looks pretty good, knight h5. Like, there is a general rule in chess when you have the space advantage, you should usually avoid trading minor pieces because it leaves the opponent more cramped. But in this case, I just want to attack on the king side. And if we can trade knights, my queen comes in, then ideally I'll have more attackers and black has defenders. There's also ideas of lifting the rook, maybe either rook over along the third rank. Okay, so we do trade. And now I'm actually very happy I left my bishop here, because black would like to play this and force some more trades. But f6 walks into bishop takes e6. Bishop is still serving a purpose. c5 makes sense. Supported by knight and bishop. Yeah, c4 might be coming. e4 is also attacked. The move I want to play is d5. But then f6. Might get a little bit murky. I think I should still go for it, though. Because f6 we trade, and there's still going to be this pressure along the diagonal. Black could maybe throw in this move. Yeah, things are definitely spicing up. I'm considering this, but I should probably start with this. g6. Okay, probably have to play this now. And black is definitely holding on. I think I'd still prefer to be white here. Do I have tactics with takes and knight d7? So takes, I guess queen takes, knight d7, bishop g7. Doesn't seem to work. I do have knight g4, bishop g7, queen h4. That's probably the way to go. I should also mention, I'm not scared of bishop takes b2. I would play e5 and then knight f6 would be a deadly threat. So, okay, I have 3 main attackers. Knight f6 and knight h6 are both big ideas for white. Black is trying to punch back. So f5. I mean, knight h6, king h8. I can't play knight f6 anymore. I think I should go for knight h6. This could get really messy. I'm not scared of this. I'd be very happy to get the bishop pair. And there is a line after king h8 I can take on e6. And if queen takes e6, I take on f5. The bishop opens up for black. But I think it looks good. Yeah, my opponent's still keeping the time advantage. Bishop e4. Or bishop takes e4. Okay, we could trade bishops. I have this move as a resource. Oh, there's a cool trap. Oh, how do I make it work, though? Okay, let's start by taking. And then... I want to play this. Yeah, let's start with this. I might end up repeating. Black might sack too, which I wouldn't mind. The trap involves playing, or after king g8, allowing black to take and then playing knight g5. Knight g5 immediately is also interesting. And h6. Okay, so my thought here is playing rook to d7, which looks like a blunder, just losing the pawn, but then knight g5, threatening mate and the queen. I'm also threatening, I think I'm threatening knight h6, rook takes g7. There's a lot of tactics here. So rook d7, there is knight c5. But then rook e7 should be fine. I'm going to go for it. And this goes back to the idea that I just want to add more pieces to the attack. And sometimes it's just about overpowering the opponent, especially when the pieces are so well placed. And I think black just fell into the trap. It's knight g5. Oh no, my rook. But I'm going to be winning the queen or mating. Rook f4 would be an attempt, but then I take on h7, king f8. Yeah, it's going to play out. Might still be mating by force. But king f8 I take and fork everything. Probably better off taking the bishop. And mate in one coming next move. Oh, opponent offers a draw. No thanks. Maybe they meant to click resign. Okay, very interesting game. A nice attacking game. I like the opening. I think my opponent just kind of went wrong with pushing the d-pawn too much. I mean, black moved the d-pawn so far just to trade it off, and then lost 2 tempi with the queen. So this gave me time to just get some nice development. But it wasn't easy to punish the opponent. Maybe I could have done some like small things better around here. Engine slightly prefers bishop d3. But yeah, I just brought my rooks to the center. And then this was a moment I did take time trying to figure out a plan. Knight e5 seemed to work out. Engine is also suggesting bishop c2 or queen e3 or even knight g5. What's the point of knight g5 h6? Okay, some engine line where waste time but maybe provoke a weakness. But knight e5 seemed to allow the play to flow. And then here, wow, here I missed a move which the engine says is the only winning move. d5 was a mistake, giving away my whole advantage. The best move is rook d3, which didn't cross my mind. And first of all, it allows c4, but then rook h3, but also allows bishop takes e4 defending. But bishop c2. And white's attack is just too strong. If f6... Oh, look at this. If f6, I take on h7, sacking the queen. I think I would need to calculate this if I were to play rook d3. And the point is after takes, there's some windmill. And yeah, it's just so nasty. Bishop f5 check. Bishop takes e6. And if rook f7, knight g6. That's a really cool line. Yeah, maybe if I was Stockfish, I would find that. But, yeah, rook d3 was missed. Also, if rook d3, there's takes immediately, but still rook h3, and I guess bishop c2 is a threat, and it's really hard for Bach to stop. If h6, there's going to be sacking ideas. And if f6, we take here. Okay, so some cool lines. What happened in the game? Yeah, f6 should have been played after queen h6, g6, queen h6. It was still a nice attacking position for white. And this final idea was nice, to play rook d7. E-pawn was basically poisonous. Opponent took the poison and then lost very quickly. So, fun game to start the episode. Up to 2108. Let's do another. Okay, playing Mr. Blunder 2022. I'll play Sicilian. We have open Sicilian. I'll play the Accelerated Dragon. This is one of my main openings of choice in recent times. Been playing this a decent amount in over-the-board chess too. And there are a couple moves here. Main line is castling, but there's a move that I've been looking at recently. I'm going to go ahead and play pawn to d6. And the point is to threaten knight g4, which my opponent stops. And now, do I want to go for this sharp line? I think I will. I'm going to play queen b6. This is, it's only a line to play if you're like quite well prepared for the tactics. And it's a very risky move because I'm aligning with the bishop and there's all these discoveries. But the only logical discovery for white is to play knight f5 to defend the bishop. Otherwise, the bishop would be hanging. And the point of black going into this after knight f5 is I can take on b2 to counterattack white's knight. And white's trying to be safe with bishop to b3. But as far as I know, this is a mistake. I'm pretty sure it's a mistake because of knight takes e4. Now it can still get sharp. Let's go for it. Now the point is I sack the knight, but I'm unleashing this. White very quickly plays knight d5. I'm pretty sure I have to play queen a5 here. Yeah, this is a big mess. Let's go for queen a5. I wonder if white's prepared for this. I studied this at some point, like maybe a few months ago, but I have to figure things out. So c3, Block's a check. My knight's attacked. If I take... I think that's counterproductive, because after takes, I don't really want to trade bishops. So knight f6 is looking like the better move. Knight f6. And then if we trade, I mean, we could trade both pairs of knights. That should be okay. I'm a little bit scared given how quickly my opponent blitzed out knight d5 and c3. But let's go for this. I mean, if I can get castled and hold on to my pawn, black should be doing fine. It's a question of white can stir up some threats. Like bishop a4 doesn't quite work because knight is hanging. That's a good sign my opponent's thinking here, so... yeah, maybe they're out of their own prep. Takes on c6. We'll take back. And we trade knights. So all the knights have left the board. And I did win a key center pawn. Now white's trying to get compensation by preventing me from castling. Briefly considering this, I don't think it works. I could give white a taste of their own medicine with this move. Also preventing castling kingside. Queen d2 might be coming. I like bishop a6 to start with, though. I don't think white really wants to castle queenside. If queen d2, I can play rook b8. Some threats of rook takes b3. And for the time being, my king is decently safe here. Pawns help shield any potential attacks on the files. Now rook b8. Castle queenside. I'm beginning to calculate these lines with sacking exchange. They seem close to working. Not sure if they actually work, though. Rook b8 castling queenside. I'm also looking at this move, queen h5. The idea of playing g5 to trap the bishop looks kind of sneaky. It's bothering me that after rook b8 castling queenside, I'm not seeing anything clear for black. Like sacking doesn't seem to work. White is getting the files. And then there's going to be some issues with the center. So queen h5. So queen h5, I mean, g5 is a pretty big threat. Okay, I'll go for it. I might be walking into h4. Bishop takes h4, king d1. It could get very strange. After king d1 in that line, there's bishop g5 maybe. This could be a mess. Another idea I should keep in mind is c5 and c4. Always have to watch out for queen d5. Or bishop a4 check. Yes, there's probably too many drawbacks with c5. So white moves the bishop. That's a good sign. Castling queenside still might be coming. So do I want to castle kingside? h4, g4 on the horizon. I'm just looking for other plans in the position. Rook b8. Also queen e5. Yeah, I think I'll still go ahead and castle. It's probably going to get very sharp. Yeah, white castle's queenside. Rook b8. Can I go for this now? But then g4. Oh, g4 queen h3 is interesting. Yeah, there's some logic to this. It does feel wrong. But I like the prospect of playing c4. And once I chase the bishop back, I'm going to get some initiative. a2 will be a target. And positions like this, they usually come down to who can attack quicker and who can be the first one to start making threats. Basically the first one to start throwing punches. So the queen has done some swinging back and forth. I am hitting a2. It's possible white could ignore it and just go for the thrust on the h-file. King b1, so let's play rook to b8. And now I'm threatening to take on c3. So white's trying to play safe. Do I have some monster tactics? Rook takes b2 and rook b8. It feels very close to working. Rook takes b2. I mean, white can give back material with bishop to b3. I think it's still good though. So takes, rook b8. If bishop b3, I take bishop c4. I have b4 queen a2. So takes, rook b8. King c1 gets mated. Yeah, bishop b3 is the only move actually. And I take, and then bishop c4. It looks winning. Sacrificing the rook. Yeah, no, all the pieces are coming to life. Even this bishop, like, assuming we see this line, this bishop is very important. I'm threatening this, so we might see pawn a3. It's kind of interesting. And pawn a3 might actually keep white alive. And then rook c8, rook c1. It looks ugly for white with a pawn on b3. But white can maybe use this pawn as a shield. So white does play a3. So I'm thinking if rook c1, I'll play rook c4. Which discourages this and prepares this. But then rook a1. Yeah, it's still not easy. I thought it was going to be a crushing attack. Bishop d4 also a move. I do have e5 here. e5 has to be the way to go. And then probably d5 coming next. I'm not scared about losing the pawn. And once the bishop moves, the queen is going to be tied down to defending c3. So, yeah, with d5, white can't take the pawn. And the plan is probably d4, or maybe even e4. Or maybe bishop e7. And there's a lot of resources here, which is a good sign. d4 does look like a nice idea, because if takes, I have rook c2. Down a little bit on the clock. Yeah, 2 minutes to over 4 minutes. Okay, let's move the bishop, attack the pawn. And if rook a1, then d4. And this looks like lights out for white. Because I'm hitting the bishop, I'm threatening to take and fork. And if white takes, I play rook c2, and white resigns. Okay. Yeah, just to show if... there's actually not too much to show here, but if takes rook c2, takes, let's say takes, king is super exposed, queen and two bishops should finish off the job, takes first, and then start checking. So another nice attacking game. Goes to show the power of just adding more attackers, like attacking with all the pieces. Also seizing the initiative as quickly as possible. If we just go back from the beginning, yeah, this is a very tricky dragon line. I did prepare this for one of my over-the-board games in my tournament in Norway, but the person who I was preparing this against didn't go into it, so I guess I got to save the preparation for this game. The main line is knight f5, queen takes b2, knight takes g7, king f8. Kind of a big mess, but it's playable for both sides. Objectively better for white if they know what they're doing. My opponent here played bishop b3, and yeah, this is, I think, just a mistake, even though it still gets tricky in some lines. Knight d5 was played. Yeah, there's also knight f5 here to still try and go after the bishop and attack the queen. And the best move for black if knight f5 is to take on c3, b takes c3, and queen a5. And yeah, even though it's a mess, black should be at least equal, if not better, from this position. After knight d5, yeah, it seemed like white didn't get much compensation. Was able to prevent white from castling. I took a long time here and not quite sure what to do. I was mainly debating between rook b8 and queen to h5. The engine says both moves are playable. Played queen h5. Now apparently bishop 8. Oh, bishop h4 I didn't consider. I think I rejected this because I just saw g3, but after g3 I can take. And there's a pin. That's a small miss. I castled, and then yeah, so this position, it's still very playable, but I think king b1 was just too slow. The engine doesn't like it either. Allows me to bring a piece in with a threat, and then yeah, rook takes b2. Not completely winning, but it did work out. Opponent resisted. By the time I got in d4, here I was completely winning. So, okay, a couple nice games so far. Let's do one more to wrap up the episode. Playing Mr. GG Stitch from South Africa. And we have the Reti opening. Opponent taking their time. E3. Yeah, this has been trendy, especially at like higher level play. A lot of grandmasters adopting this weapon. Usually the idea is to delay d4 and play c4, and then knight c3. Bishop e2, okay. I think with bishop e2, I'm just gonna try and grab space, take over the center. Okay, so white is playing some version of a collie. I'll go ahead and take, and then okay, knight takes, interesting. So this does allow e5. Yeah, let's just take the center. e5, we'll probably trade on c6. I'll put the bishop here. And castle. h4, wow. So white played the first few moves a little bit slowly, but now they're just blitzing out moves. h4... It's definitely ambitious. I think I would like to focus in the center and just continue developing, like rook e8. There's also queen a5. A queen a5 is kind of interesting. Might walk into a3 and b4. Does white want to play g4 next? I could play a5, a4 myself. I'll play rook e8. This should be the most flexible move. Like continuing to march the pawn. I probably want to include h6, not allow white to play h6. And this could allow like g4, g5, but white's not leaving a safe place for the king on the king side. I might play knight h7 here. There's also queen a5, a3, and then knight e4. G5 is not really a threat yet. Yeah, just trying to figure out how to react to this. I could play a5. I guess white wants to play rook g1. I still like the idea of playing a5. If I get in like a4, a3, it can really disturb the bishop. White's just doing their own thing. So a4, g5, take, let's say rook takes. And then a3, h6, g6. There's bishop c3. I think it's okay. I'm going to play a4 and take. And then this. White's king is just, it's going to be stuck in the center. It's hard for the queen to come in. There's also some tactics here. Like if bishop c3, I maybe could play d4, takes, and then knight d5. Attacking the rook and the bishop. Knight e4 would defend both things, but then the knight's overworked. I take the bishop first. Also, if white plays h6 here, I don't have to play g6. I could probably just take the bishop. So we're seeing another example of me basically seizing the initiative before white can generate threats. I think d4 is a nice move to keep the initiative. And there's this move, but then takes doesn't quite work. I think I'm just winning material. So d4 takes knight d5. There's also rook g3 there. But then after I take, I hit the bishop and I attack the rook with my bishop. And position's getting messy, but I think it's messy in my favor. Yeah, exploiting the undefended targets. And yeah, the two moves, as I mentioned, attempt to defend, I don't think really work. I'll take the bishop. Although, do I have to worry about h6? No, then the queen's attacked. Ooh. Okay, well, I can take the rook. It still takes time for white's queen to come into the game. Bishop to... Yeah, bishop b4 looks pretty good. Taking allows takes with check, which is also probably pretty good. Bishop e5 there. This looks simpler. I unleash the queen. Okay, white might get like one more check. I think I'll go ahead and take on d4 first. And taking with pawn or queen are probably both fine, but queen takes g4, threatens a queen trade, threatens a knight, queen g3, king h8. We might see h6, but then, okay, rook g8 or queen takes c3. And if h6 immediately, I could just take it too. White doesn't have any checks. Or any good checks. Yeah, I have a feeling we might see resignation soon. We might see my opponent use their time and try and resist. Okay, castling. So I'm up a whole rook here. Happy to trade queens and then get rid of the knight too. Probably should hold on to the pawn. Rook e6. Yeah, it's kind of a weird square for the rook, putting it in front of the pawn, but I'm really just trying to simplify trade-off. I can force a trade of bishops. And bishop can't really leave this diagonal. And then the strategy is going to be to use my king, win these pawns, and then queen one of the kingside pawns. There's another idea, actually, which might be a quicker way to win. Once the bishops come off the board, rather than using my king to win pawns, I can use this rook to sneak in to the first rank via like h1 or d1, and then go after a2. And because I'll already have the rook supporting the a pawn, then if I can win this a2 pawn, it might be the quickest way to queen. I might even consider playing e4, like assuming takes, let's say rook c5. I play e4, I sack the e pawn, I go in, king d2, rook a1. I'm probably just overcalculating this position. No need to think so far ahead, but yeah, let's go for this, e4. Sometimes it is good practice, like when you are winning, rather than just kind of shutting down your brain, it's good to stay involved in the position and figure out the most efficient approach to win. Using this pawn as shelter from the checks. Okay, this pawn gives me shelter now. And now it's just a matter of getting my rook out of the corner. Play rook to b2. If the pawn were still on b3, I would play a1, and then if king takes b2, queening would be mate. But in this case, yeah, I'll just save the rook. I mean, a2 was still playable. Okay, got 3 heavy pieces. Let's find the most efficient mate. King b6, it's mate in 1. Okay. Another nice attacking game. I think all 3 games today were some nice examples of attacking chess. The first game was a kingside attack. Second game was queenside attack. This game was exploiting the white king in the center, also exploiting my opponent's slight violations of opening principles with this h-pawn thrust and then the g-pawn thrust. Yeah, a5 was ambitious for me too, but it worked out quite nicely. Like maybe white should have thrown in a3 to prevent me from playing a3, but after g5, yeah, it just all kind of crumbled for white. Bishop, rook undefended, the king's still a target, and yeah, just won a rook, traded queens. Relatively smooth game. So I think I'll wrap it up there. Hope you guys enjoyed the games today. If you have questions, leave them below and stay tuned for the next episode. I'll see you guys soon.